Holden Nationals is just around the corner, so on this episode of Carnage, we're doing some upgrades to the Supermang. Holden Nationals is this weekend, so we're looking to go out there and run some new PBs. Last year at Holden Nationals, we ran our very first 12-second pass with the Supermang and then ended up the weekend with a 12.74, which wasn't too bad. Since then, we've bettered that to a 12.53. And since then, we've made some upgrades to the Supermang. We took it out and did some skids with it, had some fun with that. Well, we're doing more upgrades and hopefully we can dip this down into the very low 12s, if not the 11s. That would be great. So with that in mind, I've already been at work. So the blower's missing off the car at the moment while I've been upgrading some stuff. And obviously Maddie's been away at Bathurst, so rather than sit on my butt, I've been beavering away on the car, preparing stuff so we can get a lot done today. And we'll start with our throttle body and elbow upgrade. So a month or two back, I bought this enlarged elbow from, I think it was Planet Parts off eBay. Not only is it much bulkier through the midsection, it already comes pre-made to fit a LS1 style throttle body. So 3-bolt throttle body, which is important. And yeah, I was going to put a standard LS throttle body on it, so that size. That was going to go on it. Then I thought, no, we could probably do better than that. So I went and saw the guys at MPW and they had this old girl on the shelf just sitting around. So they've generously donated that to the cause. We're going to see how that goes. And then I thought, why don't we check out ProFlow? And they didn't have any 92 mils in stock, but they had this massive 102 mil unit there. However, it's too large. I was going to go the 102 mil because this is a very nice bit of gear. Get it out of the bag. Look at that. So nice. It is a 4-bolt throttle body, which means we would have had to have run this adapter 4-bolt to 3-bolt. Okay. However, being 102 mil, it's too big. It is too big for the hole behind the throttle body and just generally too big for everything. So it was a good idea, just not going to work. So anyway, we'll put that aside for a rainy day and we'll just go with this old school. This would have been an old throttle body, so this would have been back when LSs first came out, and no one really makes performance 3-bolt throttle bodies anymore, I've discovered. So anyway, it's even got a NOS sticker on it. Bit of foreshadowing. So while this elbow does technically bolt to the back of the blower, this opening here is larger than that opening there. I'll show you how much. So if you're going to bolt the elbow straight to the back of the blower unmodified, you're going to end up with a fairly decent lip there where the airflow is going to slam into the lip and disrupt the airflow and therefore end up with a fairly unsatisfactory result. So to make this work, we have to port the back of the blower to match that and the gasket. Let's go and have a look at what I did there. So as you can see, I've made a fair bit of a mess here. Now I took the blower off the car, jammed a rag in the back, and then opened it up with a grinding burr, which was a metal one, so therefore it's still jammed up with aluminium now. Aluminium burrs have fewer teeth and they don't jam up with aluminium. So anyway, yeah, we'll fix that later. And then I've smoothed it out with a paper roll, gone in there and took out most of the metal with the grinding burr and then smoothed it out with the paper roll, and now we have a fairly smooth transition that matches our gasket, well mostly. Is that the right? That's the way. There we go. Matches our opening. So now I've just got to pull the rag out and give it a good clean out and a good blowout. Let's not use that one. We'll give it a good blowout and make sure there's no metal in there, and then we can bolt part A to part B and then get it onto part C, being the Commodore. That's kind of funny, actually. Right, so we've got our elbow on the back of the blower, LS throttle body on there as well. I've made this Franken bracket using part of the bracket that came with this elbow kit. So the elbow comes with a bracket, but the bracket's useless. It does not work, all right? You know, where you line up the bolts, like it basically would position the cable there and it doesn't pull in the right angle or anything like that. So we need it to pull in a downwards motion, like so. That will work. And yeah, like I said, it's a bit Frankenstein, but it ain't gonna break, and it pulls in the right direction, and hopefully it clears everything on the car. But there's a lot of dead empty air there, so it should work fine. All right, so we've got that ready to go. There's one other part we need to talk about. Nice! So this is something we've been playing with for a little while. I'm using the bottle from the Mazda. The line is the line that came with the kit for the Mazda, which ended up being too long, so we got a shorter line made up. So we're reusing parts from old nitrous kits, basically. But I think we're going to run out of time, to be honest. We've got to kind of have this thing on the dyno later today, and I've still got to put all the engine stuff back together. I've got the bottle in, the line run. I've even got the fogger mounted into the intake. However, we've still got to plumb up the solenoid, wire up the solenoid, wire it up to the Haltech, which is all pretty involved stuff. And I think we're just going to run out of time. Anyway, enough excuses. Let's show you what I've done with the intake, and then we can put it all together and see if we can get it to the dyno on time. So you might remember our little air plate from Mace Engineering, which allows us to intercool this bad boy. Now I've replaced our soft and soggy pipe on this side with a hard pipe. Now before it used to suck in and breathe out all the time and had nothing to grip onto, so sometimes it'd blow off. It really only blew off once, but once was enough for my mind. So I cut a piece of pipe, took it down to the boys at MPW, and Abe welded it together for me, and it looks amazing. So this hard pipe will stop any issues with blowing off. And then I've put a nitrous fogger down in the corner here. So we're not going to use the fuel side, we'll just use the nitrous side. But as I said, we'll probably run out of time for that. But it's plumbed in, ready to go. We'll just cap that off for our supercharging activities this weekend. But now we've got gaskets and everything, we can put this on and put the car together. Should be better. Virtualized children. see if it fits now. Right, so she's all back together, except we have a slight problem, and that is the bonnet doesn't close. We can close it, we can get it down, but it doesn't close properly because the intake pipe is too tall. Bugger! So that might be a job for another day, but anyway, in the meantime, let's whip the bonnet off and then we'll fire it up and see if we can get it down to the dyno. Bloody cars. Right, well, let's see if it starts. Wow, it even idles. Cool. Wow, that runs remarkably good. We no longer have this sucking in issue here at the soft pipe that we had there at the back. So no longer have that making noises. But it idles a bit high, but to be fair, we haven't even reset the TPS yet. So I should probably plug the computer in, reset the TPS, see what that does, but it seems to idle and run remarkably well considering what a massive change we've made to it. So, beautiful. All right, let's dump the oil, change the oil, and get it ready for some dyno action. AC. Oh, that is so cold. The key of power. Of course it'd be the hot side, wouldn't it? So it doesn't look like today is going to be a win for us. We're having all sorts of problems. It's not charging right, even though I changed the alternator over after we did burnouts that time. And so there's something wrong with the charging system. We're also blowing off the cooler pipe pretty consistently, which is really annoying us. The engine is starting to sound a little bit rattly, which I'm not happy with. And it doesn't have an oil pressure gauge on this. In fact, the VN harness doesn't have provision for oil pressure. It has an oil light, but as far as the ECU is concerned, there is no oil pressure gauge on this car, so we would have to wire one in, which we may do, and we probably should do, because I'd like to know what the oil pressure is doing, because it is starting to sound a bit sort of rattly dinosaur, and you know, I'm not happy with that. Our big throttle body experiment doesn't seem to have made much more horsepower. If you look at the graph over here, it's kind of same, which isn't great. You know, yes, it kind of peaks a little bit earlier, but the torque values are pretty much the same, the boost is the same. Everything's kind of same, which means we're probably not going to take this to Holden Nats, because I'm not happy with it right now. It needs a bit of work done to it. It needs us to sort out some stuff, and you know, the intake pipe hits the bonnet, so we can't close the bonnet properly. It'd be embarrassing to take this out the way it is. So I'm not happy with it. We're not taking it to Holden Nats, so boo to that. However, I am kind of getting sick of this whole, you know, every time we make a run with this thing, it shows less power because more heat. Less power, more heat, more heat, less power. Just back and forth all the time. It's driving me nuts. So where do we go from here? Do we just abandon the 3.8 and the supercharger setup altogether and go 4.2 litre stroker? Yes, we have that bigger blower there to try, but there's a lot of work to get that thing working on it. We have to, you know, we've got half the kit, we have to remake the other half of the kit, and that looks really frustrating as well. So I'm kind of leaning towards 4.2 litre and turbo. What are your thoughts? I'd like to hear them. I pretty much guarantee you agree with me though, because we're not even making 300 horsepower at the tyres, so I think maybe, yeah, 4.2 litre turbo, let's send it 500 horsepower at the tyres. That'd be nice. Let us know what you think, so we can do this on a future episode of Carnage.